we all know the topic for today's discussions is very interesting. The key to CFO success, is it right technology or it is right talent? Or perhaps both, we do not know. We'll discuss during the day. We'll have to find the answers to this mystery, which is growing day by day, especially post-pandemic, So before I move the discussions forward, I'll introduce you the panelists, all the panelists. To start with Shalini. Shalini is the CFO of Symbiosis Hospital at Pune. And then I come to Bhaskar. Bhaskar is CFO for and board member of Bangalore International Airport.
Hi, good afternoon.
Kishore is CFO and board member of DBS.
Hi, good afternoon.
Manish is CFO for Amul Dairy.
Good afternoon.
Deepak is the president and group CFO for Tata Automotive Systems, Tata Component Systems Limited.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Archit Gupta is the founder and CEO for ClearText, the text utility quite a few of us might be using.
Hi.
So we have a very interesting mix of the panelists from different diverse experience, different industries. And I think these discussions are going to be very insightful and exciting as we go forward. But I just want to give set the context right, for the attendees who are also joining us or perhaps already joined us. As we all know, the digital landscape of all the companies has increased multi-fold in the last 2-3 years. Especially post-COVID, it is on a different trajectory altogether. And the Capex, as we know, for the digital initiatives, which was especially for the business function, was given less priority over the product innovation into the business. But post-COVID, this has changed dramatically. There is a lot of function on all the digital initiatives into the business function also, besides the the business on the business innovation side. So with this speed up of digitalization, we are also aware that we need to create a right ecosystem within our organizations for our people or employees, teams to manage these digital initiatives which are ongoing or undergoing in our organizations, which essentially means either upskilling our employees or change of the employees' mindset. Because even if we upskill the employees, give them trainings, if the mindset is not changed, it's not going to be very successful in terms of the implementation part. So with this background and with the interesting panel we have, a couple of questions in our mind, I'll discuss with all the panelists and have their thoughts. So my question to Kishore first would be, Kishore, as we know, the companies are going huge digitalization in the finance functions and also the service functions, not only finance, HR and other functions also. This might be creating huge skill gaps among all the employees. Do you find the skill gaps in your organization? If at all they are there, what mechanism you are doing to evaluate these skill gaps, and how are you managing filling these skill gaps in your organization?
Yeah, thanks, Rajnish. I think first of all, talent and technology, I think this is not either or. So they need to go hand in hand simultaneously for getting the better results. And certainly we need talented people for better execution, leveraging technology, and finally getting the right results. At the same time, technology is inevitable. So if you see the digital companies, which have started in last couple of years, they are dominating the marketplace. And in last year, there were 10 unicorns. This year, there are 21 unicorns, and almost all from technological background. Now, at DBS, we had started blockchain, and in the blockchain, we captured the entire physical journey of diamond, which is from mine till manufacturing till retail, and which sort of gives the assurance to the end customer that this diamond came from which mine, this diamond is responsibly sourced, this is a natural diamond, like that. Moving on to particularly the skill sets. On that, I would like to give that answer in 3 different generations. So we are rather earlier. Let me give a little bit flashback. So we had series of automation drives in our finance function, wherein we have a vendor portal. Our invoicing happens with RPA. The bank sends automated payment advices. Once customer amount is outstanding, they get an auto email from our SAP system. So I think we have series of automation drives. And very recently, we have undertaken very large automation drive. And it's going to run more than a year. So in that, when we started, we got huge resistance from the older generation X people. And I think to some extent it's right as well, because they have seen success in a way. They have performed their duties. They have undertaken the business. But then their buying was very critical. As you rightly said initially, the mindset is important. And till the time they will not buy in, so the successful implementation and thereafter the results were not possible. So we had series of conversations with them, and then we also brought outsider people to do the change impact, which has helped to some extent. And we had a series of conversations. At the end, we have created the smaller groups, the diversified groups, wherein there are some senior people, which is this Generation X people, along with the millennials. And that really helped, because the experience along with the technological adaptation, the best of both has really helped in making that project a little more successful. And during the process of implementation, all these older people, they have learned from various these new age people how to adapt to the technology. So I think those, and finally, as you rightly said, in last more than a year in this COVID time, I think we all have huge learnings. And other than health and hygiene, I think we all have understood that why automation is required, digitalization is required. And all these Generation X people have also changed a lot. I can see that in last 1 year. Moving on to the next generation, which is a millennial generation. So these people, recently, as I said, we are expanding, and we had hired so many people, and we have hired most of those people who are millennials. And they have grown up with technology. They use various devices. And when they came here, I think they really liked in implementing various technologies, and those processes which used to take longer time, they have really shortened this time. And in a multinational companies, because you operate in so many countries, you need to have a robust systems, and you need to have a certain processes wherein you can only use technology and try and get consistently right results. So technology adaptation was a key, and this millennial people has really helped. And moving on to the last piece, the Generation C is for COVID. So those people who are currently studying in college or universities, those Generation C people, I think they are breathing technology. They are living with that, because they are learning online with various screens. So when they will come to the workforce, I think it's important that we need to try and create an ecosystem which will help them to give their best, so that we will get the best kind of the productivity. So we need to have an integrated approach wherein they will use technology to the core. Thank you.
Very interesting thoughts, Kishore. Especially, we all know we are working on AI, we are working on RPAs, but getting the blockchain integrated into the entire business system and this integration, definitely, I mean, it's need of the art. That's how the business is going to prosper.
Yeah. Thanks, Rajnish. And we are in highly super premium category. So certainly, blockchain has really given assurance to the end customer that this diamond is natural and came from which mine and responsibly sourced.
So Shalini, need your thoughts on the another point or another dimension. This digital adoption needs upfront capital investment, and many small companies or medium scale companies cannot afford to digitalize especially these service functions, because their focus will always be on the core business. So do you think in this case, upskilling or working with the employees will help to fill the functional gap, or do we have some other strategy to make it up for the requirements of the business?
Well, my thoughts here are, for a service industry, I think, since all of us are from the finance fraternity over here, the data that we have to give to the management, to the stakeholders, or to anybody for that matter, needs to be really accurate and authentic. And so it needs to have a very authentic or a background to it with a lot of evidencing. And more so with service industries, because if I just, for a minute, take parallel of a FMCG industry or industry where there are physical material which is being, produced and then sold. versus a service industry. If there is less of automation, we are all lost because it's all perception. The services which are being given, especially my industry, it's all like the doctor can come and give a consultation, and it could be just deemed to be a free kind of stuff, and it's just gone, and my revenue is lost. Right. So for that matter, I think again, as Kishore also said, that there is no either or for this. Point one, technology and manpower has to be, both upgraded is required. That's point one. And point two, if we have lower budgets, then I guess there are stopgap arrangements that can be done. But not being able to have digitization or automation at this point in time is not doable. It's not acceptable. I don't think it takes us anywhere, because from our kind of industry, if I would really say that, for example, like I would, as a finance person, I would really be very happy if my, from the point of sales, that is from the time the patient is admitted till the time he's discharged, I get everything that's happening on the patient really gets captured in the bill, in the perfect manner without any lapses at all. But then it would happen seamlessly only when my doctors also start writing prescriptions on the, in the EMRs and everything else. The medicines are being, of course, issued through the EMRs, through the systems, through the automation, but the prescriptions are not happening. So those, I cannot say that that needs to be enforced upon people. So it's not just upgrading the technology, but also upgrading people, right? So on a flip side, where getting all these things automated needs the doctor's attention or the people's attention. They have to learn as to how to, put prescriptions on the system, how to, put a name of the surgery in the system. I mean, all these needs to be taught to them, to a very busy person who's like who's who of the medical industry, and they don't have time for all these things. Right. So there we can have, it's not just about capital investment, but it's about how to train them, right? So there is probably where we can have a small little gap. So it cannot be always a very seamless kind of from point of sales to the point of realization of revenue. There we can have small little gaps. People can be trained, second in lines, third in lines, clerical staff can be trained, upgraded, and of course they need to be bright. When I say bright, they have to almost start thinking like the systems do, like a computer does, or like an automation would do. There cannot be any exceptions. The automation helps us to standardize and define a process, so there are no exceptions. Exceptions will always drop, and then we have to figure out as to how to solve them, right? So that's where I would say that that's where probably it has to be a mix of both. It has to be a mix of both. In case we are falling short in budgets, then have smaller applications. There are plethora of people available in the market who can give smaller solutions. Like, you go to the smallest chemist shop, they have a software. They're not doing billing on haath ki likhi parchi or anything. Everybody has a software, and it sells for really little. Doesn't matter. But then at the end of the day, we must have both. I mean, it is not an either or. So upskilled people is of course required. We need to upskill them, but at the same time, how to upskill them, what to train them, that is also very specific to the departments, specific to the verticals that we work on. So that's kind of a huge discussion that we can individually get into sometime. But I think there is no either or. Both of them have to be there. We can have stopgap arrangements. Nice controls checks have to be there for the manual replica, or in lieu of automation, whatever manual work we do, that needs to be really bright and smart. That's what.
Good. Yeah, great thoughts, Shalini. So, I mean, the message I get from you is that there is, of course, no either or technology. That's what Kishore also said. And secondly, very important is, I mean, organization, be it of any size, small, medium, there is no escape from digitalization. Everyone has to adopt, maybe at a different pace. And you can look for either in-house models, or you can also have an outsourced model, depending on the organization requirements. It's
the budget
not
that we
one
have.
size fits for all. So, yeah. Great. Deepak, if you can give your thoughts on this. I mean, few companies outrightly, when they invest to justify the investments, they think of layoffs. first thing comes to the mind when you, especially finance man doing the ROI, there's an investment. Okay, how much are you saving on manpower? That's one of the things. How do you want to balance it? But then there are several risks also associated with the layoffs, as we all know, manpower risk. So is outsourcing an answer for this, or hiring the right talent with the right skill set is an answer for this to balance out the layoffs? And what should be the right approach or right mix between the two?
So before I answer you, Rajnish, I just wanted to give an example of automation, especially during COVID days. I think it's quite, I'm very sure other companies would have done it, but I thought, this is a good forum to talk about it. When COVID came, generally for attendance, all the companies were using biometric earlier. You would basically go have a thumb and the attendance was recorded. And what the new software, and I'm very sure a lot of companies would have done it, but what we did was that we basically went and we have actually implemented a software which recognizes your face, just like any phone wherein, and the attendance gets registered automatically. And what it actually helps us is that, we basically employ a lot of contractual manpower. And there used to be a lot of pilferage around that. People will come in, they would just do their biometrics and then they will vanish for the day. And with that, when you have a photo which is basically taken and, the camera can actually view you wherever you are, and, it tracks you wherever you are within the factory, because we have factories and things like that. And it has actually really helped us just to give a point of, ROI effectively, the kind of counterfeit billing which we were thinking earlier could have happened possibly. We have avoided that. The second thing is that, the person, we know if the person is not productive, we will know very clearly, and, we can take action on it. Now, coming to the question, Rajnish, on what you are asking is that, whether it is okay for an ROI to just lay off people or to outsource that, that is the question. Now, I don't think so. It's an easy answer, to be very honest with you. It is very clearly, the skill sets, it is about the skill sets, which is basically driven. And if we do not have a skill set, and if it takes a lot of time and efforts and time and resources to be able to get there, it straight away makes sense to outsource those. So, I'll give you an example, like a lot of companies that, like Kishore was mentioning that, they have actually implemented blockchain. Likewise, we basically have also implemented SAP S/4HANA and things like that, and business analytics and all. Now, if you were to code everything for ABAP programs and things like that, which is not our competency, we are into manufacturing, it doesn't make sense to basically, having an in-source, all the in-source obviously resources. So what we have planned to do is that whatever is not strategic to the business, we basically outsource that. Whatever is strategic to the business, we always in-source it, because cost of outsourcing is definitely higher than cost of insourcing. That is very clear. So we have taken a very, very balanced call, whether it is IT infrastructure maintenance or even SAP instance maintenance and things like that, or any system for that matter. So, in simple terms, it's called an annual maintenance contract, so we basically have those, so that whenever there is an issue, we just basically fall back on the arrangement. As far as the ROI is concerned, when we were actually, we migrated from ECC6, which is S4, to S4HANA. We have also done DMS, which is the documentation management system. If the vendor actually puts in the invoice digitally, it automatically posts in SAP. That is the kind of systems we are trying to implement. So there is no shared services as such. It, we basically tell, they send it through email. It will come. It will actually automatically place. It will allow the system to pass automatic entries, and only when it is required, we have to basically do it manual, if at all there are error, things like that. So now, obviously, people will basically, because we have a shared services concept, we have around 10 or 15 legal entities, and we do shared services for all, for accounts, payables, receivables, salary, and all accounting or audits and things, whatever can be done centrally. So that's the way we handle it. And what we have done is that, because the board, when I went to the board, obviously they said, it's a huge investment. We are talking about close to almost 75 to 100 crores, kind of investment over a period of 5 years. So that is the kind of investments we have done. And the kind of obviously productivity improvement. So the business is growing threefold, and even in COVID scenario, because I keep going back to COVID, because I think that is the best example which is there in front of us, wherein the technology was used to the fullest, I would say. And we had paid all the vendors, we had received all the invoices, we could pay all the employees on time, we could basically receive all the receivables on time, and effectively nobody on certain months, nobody was allowed to even come to office, sitting at home. The shared services guys were actually doing it. Now, if I were to take this simple example for 3 months, the kind of loss of business which somebody would have would be far more higher than the cost. And to give you an example, when we actually have migrated from obviously SAP, and we have also implemented business analytics. Now the system is able to cater to, I will just take a raw material example, and this is actually very similar to all the businesses which the people would have. Now, if I am a procurement guy and I go to a vendor, and at different point in time, we have basically procured the same material over a period of time. However, the customer is not paying us. Unless and until somebody goes into the details, digs this out, brings this, by the time obviously the data is old, because we have to be more proactive. Now the system can actually give month by month if there is a variation in the purchasing price, for a particular part, and then see if there is a big instance, and wherever there is a big jump, whether we have actually gone back to the customer to really ask for the increase or no. And if the answer is yes, no problem. If the answer is no, at least we know where the problem lies, and we are able to basically save huge amount of cost from that perspective. Taking inventory an example. Now, what used to happen was that we have inventory, and we have huge amount of inventory, but whatever we need is not there, but all other things are there now. So if or one plant has the inventory but the other plant does not have, it's a very simple this thing. People will have to dug out the details, somebody has to manually do it, physically check the details and things like that. And guess what, we are able to see if the same part number, we are able to get those reports. Okay, same part number, if it is there in some other plant, at least we know where it is, and we don't have to buy, or we don't have to produce those parts, and we are able to save almost close to more than 300 crores worth of inventory just by optimizing these things, which was not visible earlier. But with the automation, the things we have done, it obviously it is far more visible. We are not relying on somebody to give the data, because if you ask the same data earlier, if I used to ask the same data earlier to the same person, you would get two different outputs, or different outputs at different point in time. Here, first of all, you do not have to rely on anybody else. The second thing is that the output which you get, very clearly that from an integrity data perspective, it is one of the best you can get. And you can obviously, it goes without saying that people are actually doing the correct transaction, but I'm just assuming that is the case. Obviously, 99% of the cases is correct, and it has given huge amount of benefits. And I think that becomes the case, for really determining the ROI, because the ROI would come on productivity, the ROI would come on based on the transparency of the data, and obviously for larger volume, if you are using similar resources, we are going to grow our business from X to 3X in the next couple of years, and if the fixed cost or the employee cost do not go up, in proportion to the business, I think, the ROI is already there because, somebody is doing that, and obviously we know how the things are.
Fair enough.
So these are my thoughts, to really get there.
Great to hear your thoughts and views, Deepak. I mean, so if I capture the entire, essence of the thoughts, what you said was very important. Is ROI is not the answer to all this. Don't look at the ROI all the time. There has to be long-term benefit of the investment has to be seen. Layoff also is not an answer because there are functions you can, based on strategy or non-strategic, you can decide whether you want to do in-house or you can also do perhaps outsource these certain functions. And this is of course the need of the R and need for the business. So it has to be automated now. There is no way you can say either or, as the earlier panelist also said. Great. So again, coming to Bhaskar, need your thoughts on again, a similar question. I mean, adoption of technology innovations like AI and RPA, even by large companies in these COVID days, we have seen there are always not so encouraging cases. There are success stories. There are also not so good success stories. We hear this all the time. And of course, the capital investment has to be made. No way you cannot avoid this capital investment in the technology adoption. Investment also would need investment in manpower in terms of technical upskilling and also in terms of these technical solutions. And when the organizations are large, these investments are also pretty huge. So can we avoid this? Is there any way you can avoid them in today's cutthroat competition? Or does the business scenario demand long-term business need and the business requirements are somewhat different, considering what is on the table and the agenda of the CFOs for digitalization?
Thank you, Rajnish. A difficult question, I would say. I mean, is it technology? Is it people? Is it skilling? I mean, it's not an easy one to answer. There is no yes or no answer to this. So before I go there, I'd like to dwell briefly on the original question that was taken over here. Is it the right talent or the new tech? The answer is, are they not both the ingredients to a CFO success? I mean, if you do not have one or the other, you're bound for failure as a CFO, because a CFO at the end of the day depends both on technology, as has been brought out by my co-panelists, and also the right talent that should be there. So a CFO cannot ignore both of them, and I firmly think that they complement each other for the success of a business organization. And also, let's say for a CFO, what is CFO? Going back a few decades, and I think we have all seen that the CFO role itself was not an existing role. We were all, looking up to our vice president finances and general manager finances and things like that. So, the role got a definition, and today the role is also, enabled by array of digital solutions. Both. I mean, the role of the CFO and the importance of the technology have become key to the present form of business organization. And the CFO is also in the midst of, the CFO is no longer a bean counter or a number cruncher who had a Microsoft Excel and then, goes ahead and tells. Today, the CFO's role has also metamorphosed so much that CFO is in the midst of operations, midst of strategy, midst of growth. So for all of this, and to define, CFO's role in growth, the organization strategy, the efficiency in operations, and also to define the, performance analytics. Technology is very, very important. And there can be no two saying about it. I mean, right talent, I think, was always important. There was never a time in history when, employees do not make up for the success of an organization. So this transformation in the digital use has also been rapid over the last few decades, from a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet to ERP systems, and today to a huge digital tech and applications to enhance the finance team's productivity. And this is a big opportunity. So this explosion in this digital technology, which includes application programming interface, robotic process automation, mobile phones, data analytics, blockchain, cloud computing, artificial intelligence, so many, machine learning, and CFOs have to make sure that they do the right choice at the right time for the organization. So it's again a question of what's the need at this moment of time, and what's the need, let's say in 2 years' time, let's say in 5 years' time. And this is something that CFO's role is very closely associated with the CIO's role. I mean, the last 6 months, I spent more time with my CIO than with anybody else in the organization. And that defines, the technological importance. I work for an airport, and the last 3 to 4 years of sort of digital advancement or digital transformation that we have brought in. I mean, it's even for us at times is overwhelming. We have because we are doing such a large expansion. There's a BIM which will define our best use of infrastructure in the future. There's also we are bringing in an enhanced digital presence, which will make sure that the passenger gets a better engagement with the airport in all its aspects, not only aero but a lot of non-aero and other aspects, and also enhances the passenger's experience in a airport. Then, of course, the third is the Digiyatra, which I think a lot of you guys might be knowing. The saying is that my face is my boarding pass. So it's going to be a facial technology which will make it paperless right from the entry gate to the boarding gate in an airport. So that would again be possible only with proper adoption of right technology and right digital enhancement. And of course, there's the asset management applications, the RPAs, all of them, which today cannot be avoided for any organization. I speak for an airport, but that's true for a manufacturing organization, a hospital, a diamonds company, everybody, a dairy company, a company like yours, which is so many things. So it's important for every one of them. So again, this is the age of data, and data gives the CFO a very strategic seat in the table. And it's the use of data, and it's the best utilization of data that is and a meaningful utilization of data which drives and which very clearly gives a path for a strategy for an organization. We'll be able to look at things much more analytically, and a lot of manual processes also will get converted. For instance, in the financial reporting, during the manual process, I have gone through that pain of telling a balance sheet and then giving. So today you just don't worry about it. This has all happened because we have adopted technology, and we have to continue adopting technology. Otherwise, this would never happen. You will remove the risk of human error. You will remove the risk of omissions and commissions, but then you cannot keep the people away from that. So it's tech and people which has to be hand in hand, and the right investment in them. So the second thing is on retaining and attracting the right talent. That's also a big challenge today. One of the key things which you asked, Deepak, on layoffs. It's easy, but then laying off in a time of bad cycle means that you are only extending your bad cycle further, because the opportunities and improvements and growth can come only with the right people and people whom you have invested in. And the key over here is to reskill and upskill those people in many areas, in technology, in digital adoption, in communication, in their respective functional areas. And that's an investment every organization should be looking at doing. And that's sort of focus that we have taken in our airport. Aviation has gone through a very bad time during the pandemic. But one of the important decisions that we had taken as an organization was that we are not going to let go of any one of our employees. We would want to retain, forget layoffs, we want to retain each and every employee. Because for an organization, a service infrastructure like us, employees are as important. And I think Shalini, I can see her, nodding. It's the same for a hospital as well, because it's only human and workforce who make all the difference for us. So, it's again a question of how much of your budget you keep aside for people improvement and for technology. And it's only a question of a right judgment. And it's a question of a need and a resource matching. There is no question that you're going to divorce one from the other. So these are some of the key thoughts that I would think are very important from a perspective. And for us, we think airports have to be cost effective. Airports have to be passenger friendly. Airports have to improve their revenue. We are a business of businesses. I mean, it's just incidental that the aircrafts land and take off from our airports, or we have a terminal. But then we are in, let's say, F&B. We are in retail. We are in duty free. We are in lounges. We are in cargo. We are in ground handling. A huge range of this thing. And so every part of our revenue enhancement can also come with the right set of talent and with the right technology. So I would just close my thoughts with that.
Great thoughts, Bhaskar. Yeah. So if I capture the entire essence, I mean, you rightly said, we all in our organizations, have large amount of data. We are handling big data now. To handle the big data, you need right technology, and the technology you cannot escape digitalization. As someone also said, data is oil now. So you have to handle it carefully as well, And also the CFO is no more a number cruncher. The CFO is a very strategic CFO now, because you are involved in all the operational matters of the organization. CFO is not limited to finance accounts or the commercial function only. Everyone is involved in all the different business functions with operational matters. That of course gives us, and you also mentioned, CFOs these days are also spending a lot of time with CIOs, especially on all technology adoptions, assessments, as well as the HR for creating the right talent pool within the organization. So this creates the entire environment and the ecosystem very challenging for all of us. But that's the need of the hour.
That's true. That's true. Very much.
So Manish, my next question would be to you. I need your thoughts on. Everyone has also said, but more or less on the same lines. Digitalization requires right skills. We all know, right mindset also, and the mindset, you need to have a holistic approach. What should an organization think about right skilling its workforce?
Thank you, Rajnish, for asking the question, and a very interesting question asked by you. So in my opinion, if I talk about this question, first I will like to explain my own definition of the digitalization, then I will come to your answer. So for me, digitalization is transfer of your business process and data from paper to the electronic media, so that you can get correct report at right time and relevant report in order to take the correct decision at correct time. So digitalization keeps you always one step ahead from all the companies who are not following the digitalization. So coming towards the answer, so let's divide the organizations into the two parts. The organizations which are not on the much developed in digitalization, and the new organizations, right? So for both, if I talk about the organizations which are running from last, say, for a few decades or few years, the right time is right now. So they should start thinking for their digitalization from right away, right now. Because the times to come, as per times to come, the organization which will be having the better digitalization will be able to survive. Because of the cutthroat competitions, and where everybody is taking the fast decisions, they are making the fast policies as far as possible, and they are so responsive towards the entire change in the globe. So it's better to have a better digitalization. So I just got one example before you, and the example belongs to my Amul dairy where I am working here. So basically we manufacture the dairy products, and we collect the milk from approximately 6 lakhs farmers from Gujarat, and approximately 1 lakh farmers from outside the Gujarat. And all the farmers are connected with approximately 1,800 villages. So each village is having approximately roughly 5,000 to 10,000 farmers are there. So we make the payment to the farmer, and our motto is to upliftment of the farmer only, because we are not basically, we don't believe in accumulation of the profits. We used to pay the good prices to the farmers. Okay. So when we take the milk from the farmer, we make the payment to them on the basis of the solids available in the milk. Solids, if I talk about, it's like fat and proteins and sugars, and approximately 15% is the solid in the milk. So suppose I'm getting the milk from approximately say 7 lakhs farmers, and suppose in the month of the July, I received the milk with 15% of the TS. Now in the month of the next month, say in the month of August, I received the TS approximately 14%, not 15%, which is also again permissible limit, but it will lead to a loss to me. So what should I do, and what should be the way to identify why the percentage of the TS was less? So here I'm having say just a dashboard where I will enter both the periods. I will simply click, and I will have a list of all the 1800 societies, means all the village societies, who has poured the milk with less TS. On a button click. So is it end? It's not an end. Again, I will click the any of the village who has poured less of the TS. I will be having on a button click number of the farmers who has poured me milk with the less TS. So again, it is an end. It's again not an end. I will click on the farmer, and I will be having his complete detail day-wise, from shift-wise, morning and evening, because we collect the bill in both the shifts. So I will be having the number of the shift in which he poured the milk with the less TS. So it is end. Again, it is not an end. My supervisor do all the things on his mobile app. He click the farmer once again, and automatically call will be connected to the farmer. And he can ask what is the reason for why the TS is less. Is there any change in the feed of the cattle or anything else, or whatever the reason may be there. So within the 2 minutes of the time frame, we are able to know why the TS where and why the TS is less in this month in comparison to the last month. Now just imagine, suppose I don't have this system and I'm doing everything physically. Is it possible really to identify? Surely not. And secondly, same system provides me a data to make the payment directly to the farmers, because earlier we used to make the payment to the village societies, and they used to make payment to the farmers. And sometimes the payment was misappropriated by the society secretaries, and so many things were happening. So we decided to make direct payment to the farmer. And with this ecosystem, where all the bank details are available in my system, and whatever milk they are pouring, automatically TS is captured without human intervention to my system. I'm able to generate a sheet on button click, and every 7th day, within the 2 days of the due date, we make the payment to the farmers directly from the head office on single button click across India. So, digitalization is not only the working on the computer. It means it's the transformation of your business processes as well. Okay, so for the established society, right time is right now, and they should enter into the digitalization. Digitalization cannot be done overnight. In phased manner, it has to be done depending upon your priorities. Okay, and for the new organization, if I talk about every organization who is entering the business right now, they should have enough budget for the purpose of the digitalization over a period of time from first year itself. If I talk about a very proud example, and Archit must be knowing in person from the IT field, there is a demat broker, Zerodha. Everybody have heard the name of the Zerodha. It's a demat broker. They started their business in 2010 only, and now they are having the largest business means customer base. I think over 5 billion customer base are there in a short span of that time. Why? Because they thought that time we will not be having any customer care executives. We will not spend any money on them. We will make our system in such a way where every customer will be able to do everything at his own level. No need to have any customer care at all. And right now, if you call to the Zerodha customer care, they will ask you to charge 50 rupees. Because they have devised their system in such a way where it's so interactive that you can do it yourself. So what is this? It's a sort of digitalization again. Coming towards how to train the people. for the purpose of the digitalization. For this, I'm having my own experience because I was involved in the SAP implementation in my previous 3 companies. And also I'm a certified FICO consultant. So in my view, when all the departmental heads are competent enough to use the technology in effective manner, then only message goes to top to down. Yes, this everybody has to follow the digitalization. Generally, what happens in the companies, digitalization starts from the lower level, and upper level means where we are sitting. We only believe in watching the reports or in studying the reports. No, this is not right approach. We should have our own analysis. We should have our own competencies. We should know in what way the digitalization should happen. We should know in what way we should get the report and how to analyze it. And then the message is passed from here, from top to down. So for me, it's always a top to down approach. So if you force any of the person from bottom to up, it will not work. Now coming towards your last question, as far as entire scenario is concerned, talent and technology, both are not substitute to each other. A talent is always require technology to take the correct decisions. So whatever we are having our question mark, it's a talent or it's a technology. For me, it is both, because any talent cannot work without technology. And without talent, technology is the waste of money and nothing else. Because at the end of the day, everything is devised to take the correct decisions and to have a correct data before you. So this is all about from my side. Thank you.
Thanks, Manish. Thanks for sharing your thoughts. Wonderful. I just, captured the essence of the entire your thought. You specifically laid a lot of emphasis, and you echoed what other panelists also said, that this is not either and or. It has to be both. Both have to complement each, technology as well as talent. And of course, digitalization is nothing but business transformation also. It has, because there's a change of mindset of the people. People have to have different thinking to adopt digitalization. And very importantly, this is, as you said, is top-down approach, not bottom-up. Maybe it is a mix of both also. People have to be buy into the technology also for the successful implementation of this. And for your kind of organization where you have multiple SKUs, there is no escape. You anyhow need to digitalize and digitalize faster than perhaps the other organizations, in order to capture the right data and the right essence of the business as well. Thank you. Archit, yeah. Archit is already, waiting for his turn. So Archit, yeah, you are in the right domain in the text technology tool. We in the business look for solutions, and you are one of the solution providers. And we look up to the solution providers for the best technology adoption for the business to give us the best productivity and the output. As you already heard everyone saying, the ROI, the talent, and it's not either or, it's both. Both have to complement each other. So my question to you, and your thoughts required, is the tax filing system has seen several changes in the past few years. Especially on the GST front, we have seen a lot of changes post 2017 once after it has been implemented. So how have you adopted the new technology or worked on upskilling your employees for providing these technological solutions to the industry?
Thank you, Rajnish. First, I'll take I'll just make a general comment on listening to the esteemed panel. The first one has been how COVID has been partially the CIOs, no disrespect to the CIOs of these orgs, but COVID has proven to be the CIOs for many orgs. That is part number one in terms of rapidly even changing the budget lines or implementation speed and velocity in almost all organizations. So that's one thing we have observed as a change in even mindset, and certain organizations are very aggressive with digitization. But with COVID, everybody had to just adopt at a very rapid pace together. So that was very heartening to hear. Multiple folks talked about it. The other one, which I thought, which is a big change, is the cloud, where Capex is now turning into Opex, which I think every CFO is watching. Which is a very powerful change in terms of the expenditure for making such important shifts to the organization are probably more affordable or get amortized over a long period of time. So that brings down risk of adoption, because folks mentioned the risk of projects which go live and the results may not come, or results take a lot of time to come. And also, like, as a technology provider, I want to talk about it for a few seconds. When you're running the cloud, as we provide a compliance cloud offering, we have to justify our existence every day to the customer and add value and ROI every day, because the ROI Opex, which is like rent, if the customer is paying rent on the infrastructure, then they demand value. If they bought the property, then the seller can be very indifferent to it. So I think like these economic models which are changing in information technology are bringing out massive changes in terms of how even digitization goes and gets adopted everywhere. Right? Zoom, most of us pay for Zoom, but we are paying like Opex for Zoom, not Capex for Zoom. So these patterns have completely changed, and I think like these are some of the raw thoughts I had like after listening to all the panel, like where things are changing much more rapidly and for the better in terms of affordability. Now coming to the second part, what we observed with tax technology, and the other part which members of the panel mentioned, Gen X and Gen Y or Gen Z, and like the millennials working in the organizations versus not. So one observation we have had, like a very strong observation, has been we provide compliance technology, tax technology in the areas of indirect taxes, direct taxes, multiple other things, e-signatures and so on and so forth. Now e-payments, we just started at that. What our learning has been like in many organizations, actually the championing is being done by the millennial employees who are used to very modern systems, right? Like they grew up on a smartphone, they are constantly on the go, they know how their way around technology as a very digital native like folks, right? So what we are observing is the championing is coming from the fact that most people understand that these manual processes which they are doing for taxes don't need to be done, right? You can automate it all away. The ERP system can speak to the cloud. All of it can be completely digital and serve the supply chain, serve the CFO's office with taxation, automation, artificial intelligence, analytics, reporting. All of that comes together, right? So the aspect of like I think Deepak talked about the system of record nature of it, like where from the system everything is flowing. These are the same observations we have had with and coming now to the question of upskilling our own employees and dealing with that, right? We implemented Salesforce at the start of the pandemic. That was quite a big expenditure, but we had to upskill like 200 plus employees on using Salesforce across the board, all the way from sales to operations, and that became our system of record. And we saw the same benefits as Deepak mentioned because of COVID. Like we've been working from home for the last 16 months, 17 months. We've not been able to go back to the office, and we've not suffered through it. Like it's been all fine because of this implementation of technology, upskilling, training folks. There's been obviously challenges on the journey. We are obviously a very young organization and teaching technology, and that part doesn't take time. It has been about like, actually for us, it was process design because we were all remote. We had to rethink our processes, redesign them, and then encode them digitally. So those were the big challenges that we observed. And it was a fun ride in that sense.
Thanks. Good thoughts, Archit, especially on the Salesforce, as you said, the amount of time and the money your organization spent on training your own employees, because that goes a long way. If you train your employees, you can also convince your customers this is how you're doing the Capex at your end, and you can provide solutions to the industry as well as a balance of the layoffs, what the topic we have been debating earlier. So I think in the interest of the time, we are left with 5 or 6 minutes, and I have 3 questions now already on the Q&A. I'll just open my screen and So question number, this one is for Kishore. With the consumer changing behavior and tech-savvy millennial, do you think technological experience is required for buying diamond jewelry as well?
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Rajnish. It's tough one, but all these millennial people, I think most of the time they are on different screens. So so we had done one research, and the research says that if they enter into a store, I think they do not feel that they are disconnect. So we have created one state-of-art store in Shanghai. So and that store is really more. We have used extensively technology in that. So once the customer is entered into the store, it's through a face recognition. His entire information is being captured by the salesperson who is sitting at the corner on his iPad. And along with that, I think he has his entire Janma Kundli, like his income group or foreign trips and SEC, ABC, like that. So even if the customer has, say, purchased something last time, and suppose he purchased a pendant and not earrings due to whatever the cost constraint, that information is also available. So when the salesperson will have a conversation with the customer, it is very targeted conversation with his first name. I think so. And once he has entered, then his image is already there. And in this COVID times, we have seen people would like to avoid touching various ornaments on account of safety aspect. So we have a virtual try on, and with suppose if that lady likes say 3 earrings, so without wearing those earrings, with a virtual try on, because all those images are already been there, so they can see all those pictures. We call as a magic mirror. It's a wide bigger screen. So on that, all those three images, while wearing those earrings, that lady can see, and that lady can use that picture. They can send on Facebook or whatever. So I think we use technology to the core. And lastly, if the customer is really interested in understanding more about diamonds, so then we use virtual reality. So we have one instrument wherein that customer can wear that instrument and they can experience this entire mine experience. They can move to the mine and see all that. So I think we use technology to the core for customer, and not only that, but even buying, because if certain articles are sold or certain articles are liked but not bought, and certain articles have not moved because everything is RFID tagged. So those items which are not really even liked by the customer, so we get that data, and then we can move them, or we can take those decisions. So buying decisions are also on the basis of technology. Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Kishore. So Archit, question for you from the panelists is not too specific to anyone, but I think quite relevant. Maybe if you can answer. Investment in technology is critical as other capex in machinery equipment in the organization. Do you think the limitation of funds put back smaller companies to grow as compared to the bigger one market because of the market share within industry? Because why I'm asking you is because you're interacting with most of the companies for your solutions and the product solutions and the offerings when you go to the company. Right. What's your thoughts on this?
A few things. I feel like actually the companies which are investing aggressively in digital technologies, right, have a good shot at like actually growing and taking market share faster. So fundamentally, like it becomes like it becomes an opportunity, right? With COVID, like what we saw with our customers also, and our organization and other startup peers that we have, right? The ones who were very, very quick to reacting to COVID, and like certain cases, if they were retail, they moved to digital online e-commerce. We saw that even traditional companies which are not very online went very, very aggressively online. The other observations we have had is like, as Shalini also mentioned, right? The price points of various products. There's always a digital product available for your budget. Now it's about like you have to look for one, you have to make more effort, find one which fits your pocket. And the other part which I was mentioning in my previous discussion was Capex versus Opex. There are a lot of opportunities now with the cloud and other elements to do Opex instead of doing very, very heavy Capex and take very high risk. So I feel like it becomes an attitude and a DNA of the organization which is far, far more important than your budget. I think the budget will follow. We saw like during the pandemic, we were able to negotiate with AWS look, we are dealing with the pandemic. 2-3 months the billing will be off. Can you give us better credit terms for these 3 months? And they were very okay with that, right? They gave us the 3-month extension period for paying out our and it helped us deal with our cash cycle, right? So what I feel is it is about DNA, nature, aggression with which like an organization wants to move digital, and those actions are far, far more important than the size of budget. It's the size of spirit which probably matters rather than the.
Great, yeah. So there is right balance is required between the both, But I think it was a very insightful and enriching discussion for me as well, and for all the participants. Quite insightful and enriching discussions for all of us and for the entire community and the participants who attended. And thanks to all of you for taking your time out of your busy schedules and attending it and giving your insights into the business and the requirements for the business to go digital. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Rajnish.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.